News headlines: Israel's refusal to negotiate with Iran and the United States. Wall Street Journal reports that Iran can change its regional agreements with thousands of missiles. Trump has agreed to a direct negotiation between Iran and the United States in Turkey, and thousands of Pahavans have joined the Iranian military. News headlines: Israel's refusal to negotiate with Iran and the United States. In the midst of this tension, Israeli media claims about this negotiation and the refusal of a trilateral agreement are of special importance. According to the Israeli daily Hayam, according to diplomatic sources, Iran and the United States are in the middle of a non-indirect and silent negotiation, which is the subject of a sensitive program and related issues with the current tensions. These sources say that the calls are made in the form of silent conversations and without official announcement, although the details of the details are not published. The Jerusalem Post reported that on the basis of Israeli obligations, the United States' conditions for starting a negotiation with Iran include the return of the nuclear weapon, the extradition of the uranium, and the limitation of the Iranian missile program. The Israeli news channel also reported that Israeli officials were concerned about the possibility of Iran and the United States cooperating, which they consider a breach of Israel. At the same time, Iranian officials have not defended the United States since entering into a direct negotiation with Iran and emphasized that any agreement on any talks should be within the scope of national interest and without obligation. Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran, has announced that until threats and military pressures continue, a formal and direct conversation with Washington will not take place. Al-Mayadeen, however, quoted from an Iranian source, said that if the Americans agree to a negotiation without confirming the outcome, Iran will accept it. This means that Iran is still not ready to negotiate, and in the event of acceptance of Iran's conditions, hope for a deal is not far from the mind. In the meantime, Israel's reaction to these negotiations is tense and cautious. Israeli media have repeatedly reported that Iran and the United States tension agreements could be made without considering Israel's security interests, and even predicted that diplomatic efforts could fail. This issue of tension in the context of strategic differences between Israel and the United States in terms of the direction of confrontation with Iran's nuclear program has taken shape. According to analysts, they believe that the United States has the ability to negotiate and return to diplomatic solutions, while Israel is very concerned about the reproduction of Iran's power in the region in search of agreement with the United States. Wall Street Journal, in a detailed report on Iran's nuclear capability, has written that the Islamic Republic, with its extensive and diverse nuclear power plant, is capable of making a significant contribution to the interests of the United States and its allies in the region. According to this media, part of this capability has not only been preserved, but in recent years has been developed. Thousands of missiles with anti-aircraft guns all over the region. In this report, it has been stated that Iran has several thousand ballistic missiles in its possession, and about 2,000 of them are scheduled to land in the Middle East. The missiles they carry are capable of targeting various targets in the West and even Israel from the depths of Iran's soil. Wall Street Journal wrote that this mass of missile weapons was one of Washington's main concerns in recent years. The ability of the sea and coastline to complete the missile power. This American media has also pointed to Iran's sea and coastal capabilities and says that Tehran, in addition to its ballistic missiles, has a considerable amount of anti-ship cruise missiles, Bajrar-equipped tundra ships, and an extensive range of military and reconnaissance vessels. According to the report, these devices could pose a serious threat to U.S. interests in the Persian Gulf and the Oman Sea. U.S. assets in the region. The Wall Street Journal wrote in a report to the U.S. Foreign Relations Council that Washington has dozens of bases and military facilities in the Gulf region. From Turkey to Kuwait, about 40,000 U.S. forces are stationed in these bases, and this has led the United States to pay attention to its defense capabilities by protecting these forces and equipping them. In recent months, Iran has been expanding its ballistic missile production capacity. Some of its Western missiles have been modified. Tehran has purchased thousands of tons of solid-fuel missiles from China, which could be used to produce hundreds of new missiles. These reports also suggest that some of these materials could be used by Iranian allied groups in the region. Turkey's Freedom Journal, in the title of its first issue today, referring to last night's phone conversation between Erdogan and Trump, the President of the United States agreed to meet with representatives of Iran, the United States, and Turkey in Ankara. The Freedom Journal, in the title of its first issue today, referring to last night's phone conversation between Erdogan and Trump, the President of the United States agreed to meet with representatives of Iran, the United States, and Turkey in Ankara. The Freedom Journal, in the title of its first issue today, referring to last night's phone conversation between Erdogan and Trump, the President of the United States agreed to meet with representatives of Iran, the United States, and Turkey in Ankara. Turkey and Egypt's cooperation in returning to the issue of transformation, such as rationality, is understandable and tolerable. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, in recent days, has been trying to get in touch with various countries. With a series of specific suggestions, the United States is reluctant to postpone the negotiation in its true sense. Hakan Fidan, in a phone conversation with Al Jazeera News Network, said that Iran is ready for a new negotiation and recommends Washington to take its issues with Iran step by step. There is a mistake. The attack on Iran is a mistake. The start of a war again is a mistake. Iran is ready for a second negotiation on this issue, and I always recommend to the Americans to solve their problems with Iran step by step. Start with a case and close it, and then start and continue in the same way. Iraqi travels to Ankara. At the same time, with the intensification of Ankara's diplomatic movements, the Turkish Foreign Ministry, in its first title with reference to last night's phone conversation, has taken the President of the United States to meet with representatives of Iran, the United States, and Turkey in Ankara. The Freedom Journal, in the title of its first issue today, referring to last night's phone conversation between Erdogan and Trump, the President of the United States agreed to meet with representatives of Iran, the United States, and Turkey in Ankara. The Freedom Journal, in the title of its first issue today, referring to last night's phone conversation between Erdogan and Trump, the President of the United States agreed to meet with representatives of Iran, the United States, and Turkey in Ankara. The Freedom Journal, in the title of its first issue today, referring to last night's phone conversation between Erdogan and Trump, the President of the United States agreed to meet with representatives of Iran, the United States, and Turkey in Ankara.